Previously on The Life of Kerbals, we obtained the technology to achieve a stable orbit and gathered the beginning bits of science from our world, but at a cost of stranding Tim in orbit.
Rescue missions, something best performed by those with the equipment and the knowledge. As we have neither, we will have to make it up as we go along. Having no capsule that can seat two, our design team decides to just slam a couple together with docking ports. With a look that only a mother could love, it has the benefit of having a complete double backup redundancy system, greatly increasing the odds of a successful mission. And with that taken care of, the only two things left are struts and engines. Having tested the EVA suit in a previous mission, we know it can withstand the vacuum, allowing us to transfer Tim without a docking port on his craft. However, that is not the hardest part. First, one must get both craft into the same orbit and in the same place at the same time, all while traveling at thousands of meters per second. Although, someone once told me, in truth, it is all relative. In a turn of events, the mission is struck with the first bit of good news since Tim was stranded in orbit. With a little planning as well as an insane amount of luck, Valentina manages to get an intercept with Tim's craft on her first attempt and in her first orbit. Soon, there is a growing chatter about something unexplained, something hovering just outside the crafts.
Hey Bob, I'm looking at what Jack was talking about, and it is a bright object. It's up at about 11 o'clock, about maybe 10 or 12 diameters. I don't know whether that does you any good, but there's something out there.
Pursued by this strange object all the way to the rescue craft, it becomes clear it is under some form of control, unnerving everyone involved and causing a communications blackout. What transpired during that half hour is unknown. When asked if it was a technical issue or a disruption from the strange object spotted, the agency's only comment was, "No comment." With communications restored, things began to return to normal, just in time for Valentina and Tim to begin their re-entry and bring this mission to an end. Beginning their re-entry over the west coast and the Iliac Sea, continuing out over the KSP, finally landing just past the island airfield and the Kola Islands. With re-entry complete, the docking ports can be tested by disengaging them, separating the crafts, also allowing them to both land separately and close enough for the same recovery team. This also returns a heap of science for our development team to be used to unlock the next stage's tech parts. But most importantly is the beginnings of the mapping equipment that will allow us to start mapping our world. Mapping requires more energy, both in electricity and data bandwidth, but also in delta V to obtain a usable inclination and altitude. In our case, a slapdash design causes us to lose half our batteries, meaning we may only be able to scan the day side of the planet. This will increase the time it will take to create our maps. However, with some good fortune, we only lose power for a brief moment on the dark side of the planet near the equator for a few minutes. With our mapping project started, it is time to conquer a new realm, the high seas. However, this is not like the crafts we know. In fact, everything is backwards and makes zero sense. In fact, I don't think this was even tested. The engineers on these tests are rather clueless. No one can figure out why an air-breathing engine flips into reverse above the water, yet works fine with the entire craft upside down. Making a craft that functions and is predictable at the moment seems to be an impossibility. Some thought that to fall back on rocket engines would be a viable solution, as they function so well. However, the cost in fuel and their preferred flight path being ballistic by nature makes them less than ideal. In a temporary solution, a stationary diving vessel is created to see if there is any signs of life on the sea floor. Seeing no signs of life, any further craft development is scaled back for the time being. With our mapping progressing, it is time to start to catalogue all of the life we can find here on Kerbin. For if we are to look out, we must first look within. So Valentina thrusts into the unknown, wanting to be the first to do a complete catalogue of all life in a biome. Being fully qualified in rocket flight, a rocket is picked to deliver her to the first survey site. However, being a skilled pilot will only get you so far. As with rockets, gravity does 90% of the work and 100% of the damage. Luckily, she is not far from home and can be recovered easily. And so, we begin with the grasslands. But before signaling for a recovery, she must first complete her task: the systematic classification of every life form she can find to answer the questions they've about their world. With Kerbins' yellow flower enses and Kerbin's green bushiet enses being the first to be documented. It is pondered if the green color means a relation between her and these plants, but first a complete catalogue of all biomes must be done before any conclusions can be drawn. But before finishing this location, a larger plant is catalogued, Kerbins' trunky leafy enses. Then, for a moment waiting for the recovery team, there is time to dream of a new goal. With some much-deserved downtime for Valentina, Lemons takes the new plane out for a test flight. This should allow our survey teams to better pick a landing spot, rather than risking tumbling down a hill, something Valentina made clear was not acceptable in the upcoming flights. However, the never-fail flight control system developed an oscillation just after takeoff. Lemon's time with us was brief, but Valentina decided that she would never again let someone else test fly a craft meant for her. After an update to the Flight Control Authority, Valentina manages to get the new craft into the air, and under her control it is proving to be more stable than its predecessor. However, as the last flight ended in the death of a pilot, it does not take much to make any improvement. With the craft in the air, Valentina sets course over the grasslands towards the highlands that are just beyond. Circling a suitable landing spot, she descends towards the ground. While preparations for landing begin, she hopes to actually land successfully this time. Oh dear. Oh bother. The important thing is that we are consistent. At least we are alive to catalogue the highlands. The first item found, Valentina names Kerbins' brown stringy enses. Next she finds the largest one yet, Kerbins' brown boulder enses. But is it truly alive? They surely must be alive, as only life can replicate, proven by this baby brown boulder enses. A possible relative of Kerbins' brown string enses, or perhaps sexual dimorphism, or possibly a different age. More testing will need to be done to confirm. For now, it gets the name Kerbins' green stringy enses. Concluding this expedition is the classification of Kerbins' trunky needle enses. With our visual mapping of Kerbin nearing completion, it is time to set up a Kerbal stationary satellite to aid in communication as we start to venture further from our home world. Well, mostly Kerbal stationary, it's a little crooked, but it will do. With 3 of our 7 biomes catalogued and Tim safely on the ground, we bid farewell to Lemons. Ever failing upwards, we will push on in the next episode of The Life of Kerbals.